Awesome. From New Jersey, Connecticut, New York, South Florida. Wonderful. Rochester. Ooh, I can't even imagine how cold it must already be in Rochester. Philadelphia, Los Angeles. There we go. I knew there were a bunch of LA people. Nice. There's our West Coasters representing Toronto. Hanukkah cookies. Oh, my mom made Hanukkah cookies too. More Californians. Great. Well, I'm going to get us started. Ooh, okay. Well, we're coming to Ellen's house also for chocolate fudge Hanukkah gelt. I'm just going to say. So first of all, I just want to welcome everybody. Thank you so much for being here this evening. My name is Rebecca, and I am the Director of Partnerships at Haggadot.com and Custom and Craft. And we are delighted to welcome you all to our first webinar of the Hanukkah season. This is our DIY Outdoor Menorah session with artist Hillel Smith, who's here on the call with us. If I can just invite folks, if you're not already muted, to please mute yourselves. We'll have time toward the end for more interactive pieces. Just want to make sure that we can hear all the speaker. Thanks. So just a little quick bit about Haggadot.com, which is one of the projects of Custom and Craft. So Haggadot.com invites every Jew and Jewish identified person, regardless of their background, to find a place for themselves in the Passover story to make more meaningful, personal, and connective seders. If you haven't been on our site before, I invite you to come check us out either at Haggadot.com or Custom and Craft. We have a bunch of Hanukkah stuff up, which I'll be sharing in a second. But our site allows you to mix and match to create a holiday experience that is really authentic to you and reflects your Jewish experience. And like I said, we have a Hanukkah website. I will put that in the chat once Hillel gets going. And you can all check that out. And we have a Hanukkah cookbook and activities to do with family, activities for grown-ups as well. And like I said, Haggadot.com and the website that we created this fall called HighHolidaysAtHome.com are both projects of Custom and Craft Jewish rituals. And we are a design lab for the Jewish community experimenting with technology, media, and video to imagine new formats for engaging with ancient traditions. We are a 501c3 that is entirely supported by community members like you. We love doing these types of webinars, especially with makers like Hillel. And we actually have a couple other webinars coming up this week. And we're able to do that because of the generosity of our community. So we hope you will make a donation either tonight or before the end of the year in honor of the Hanukkah holiday to help us keep this wonderful organization going. And with that, I am going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Hillel after I give him his wonderful introduction. Hillel Smith is an artist and designer focused on reimagining Judaica, which makes him such a perfect fit for our organization. He's painted Jewish murals around the world. I think we may even see a few of them tonight. He is the founder of the Jewish Street Art Festival, which is happening literally right now. You may have seen his Parsha posters at your synagogue or JCC, or his work for clients like Hayes, PJ Library, and comedian Patton Oswalt. And we are just delighted to have Hillel here with us. It looks like there's a lot of fans of his work in the chat here tonight with us, and we are just so delighted to have everyone. So thank you so much.
Hi, this is super. All right, am I good to go? All right, hi, happy almost Hanukkah, everyone. I see a lot of familiar names and faces in the chat, which is really, really exciting, and also a bunch of people that I don't know. So really excited to meet all of you and to hang out for the next, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 minutes or so, however long you guys want to hang out and make art. With that, so let me just go a little bit about me. I'm Hillel Smith. If you want to find out more about me, website, Instagram, all good things and ways to find out what I'm working on at any given time. I do a lot of things, and I make a lot of Jewish work. To me, Jewish art is very important. I think it's a way to engage with our heritage and engage with ourselves and figure out what's meaningful to us about our Jewish practice. So I do very large-scale mural projects. So this is a mural in Los Angeles that says Hamotzi Lecha Min Haaretz on the back of a kosher bakery. So I thought that would be a fun thing to have the bakery say the blessing for you. And also just to show Jewish work and Jewish life on such a huge scale out in public. And I do a lot of other projects that are centered around other Jewish rituals and festivals and holidays. I did a poster series of concert posters every week for the Torah portion, so thinking about how I can advertise Shabbat every week. I did an animated counter for counting the Omer of how can I take this ritual of just saying out loud every day, today is the first day of the Omer, today is the second day of the Omer, but make it a creative ritual and bring fun and joy and color into that activity. For Purim, so there's a tradition of giving gifts of food to friends and family called Mishloach Manot. So how can I take this holiday and put a creative spin on it, make something that's fun, that's different, that's interesting, that becomes very personal and is a fun outlet for me as an artist to then share this holiday with the people that I'm close with. Now is Hanukkah. So this is a Hanukkah menorah that I made with a friend of mine. If you notice, it says light facing one direction, and when you spin it around, it says Hanukkah in Hebrew. And I find adding these other bits of whimsy and play to our holidays can make them more meaningful. And then in a very lo-fi way, so I do very big spray paint work, and this is very, very tiny spray paint work of spray painting dreidels. So I can just take your boring standard dreidel and then make them, again, fun, different, interesting, very personal. And this whole activity of making stuff that's fun and personal and very Jewish is why I've been such a fan of Haggadot.com for so long, and Custom and Craft and all the programs that they do, which is really about making ritual personal and fun and engaging with it in a way with your family and friends in a very different and unique way. This is another Mishloach Manot that I did a few years ago. This was in the Custom and Craft Instagram story earlier today. I really like working with paper. This is all cut paper and little light up balloon lights on top. So that in the window lattice, there are words that says Happy Purim, but you can't read it until you put the light on and it all is lit up on the ground. So working with paper, kind of DIY materials is a thing that I find very fun, because not all art has to be fancy, expensive. With paper, pencils, and scissors is really all you need to make a lot of stuff. And just another plug. One of the things that is important and special about the holiday of Hanukkah is that Hanukkah, unlike other holidays, passes. So you think of Haggadah.com, you make a Haggadah for Passover. Passover is a holiday that we celebrate at home with our family, with our friends. It's a very intimate event that happens in our living rooms. And Hanukkah, in many ways, is the opposite. That one of the main rituals of Hanukkah is, obviously, we light a menorah. But where do we put the menorah? So many families have the tradition of putting the menorah in the window. If you go to Israel, you'll find many streets where the tradition is to put the menorah actually outside the front door in a little glass box, because the point of the menorah is to advertise the miracle of Hanukkah to everyone who comes by. That this is a very public holiday. Part of what we're supposed to do when we light the menorah is to show this off to everyone who can see it. So in that way, and I think that ties in very much with the work that I'm doing with murals, is that this is how do I advertise Jewish life and culture. All of this week and next week, we are in the middle of the Jewish Street Art Festival, which is a series of Jewish murals that are being created in 8 cities around the United States and Canada. Each one of them is a Hanukkah mural. So if you live in New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Detroit, Toronto, Charlotte, North Carolina, or Washington, D.C., please go to this website because there is a mural happening near you that you can go watch. Many of the murals will have menorah lightings every day where someone will be painting the flame on the menorah. Here are all of our artists from all across the United States. So if you have a chance, please go on there, dowastreetart.com, and find a menorah near you. And what we're going to be doing today is in a very similar way. Oh, this is the first mural that was just finished yesterday at the JCC in Toronto. And there are more murals in bright colors, different styles in all of those cities. And so similar to this, what we're going to be doing today is creating our own DIY public menorahs that we can put outside our houses and advertise Hanukkah in a very different way. So you may or may not be familiar with the idea of a luminaria. A luminaria is a paper bag with a little light inside of it, often a candle and a lot of times electric. You'll find these especially in Spanish-speaking communities around the United States. There are all kinds of different ways to make luminarias. You can draw on them, you can cut out of them, you can back them with different things. So we today are going to be playing around with a bunch of these different techniques. And when you think about it, Hanukkah is the Chag HaOrim, it's the festival of lights. And we are going to be really leaning into this with our luminarias. If you take your luminaria paper bags and you arrange them in a row, you can have menorah that you can put on your balcony, on your front porch, on the entry to your house, on the floor of your dorm room, however you want it to go. For this, or if you can also just make a large paper bag, and I'm going to show a bunch of different techniques for how we can do these different things. And these are all different ways of really getting to the core of what this holiday is about, of advertising the holiday of Hanukkah, of creating Jewish spaces out in public, and also having fun and making something that's very personal in the way we dedicate the holiday. So with that, we will need a few different supplies as we get started. This is just an ordinary paper lunch bag. I have a nice big box of 50 or so from, this will cost you about a couple bucks at Target. If you are like me, you've been waiting out this pandemic by ordering a lot of delivery and takeout. So you might have even larger paper bags. So you might have even larger paper bags that we can play with. So work with those also. Your paper bags might be white. They might be a kind of thicker cardboard material. And each one of these different kinds of bags has different benefits. Take what you have. Part of the joy of making art and being creative is to think about the material properties of the things that we have, and then to work with that and let that accentuate the artwork that we're making. So at its most basic, a luminaria is a paper bag with a light inside of it. Traditionally, you're putting in a little candle, and you would fill the bag probably about an inch or so with sand, and then put the candle in the sand. The sand does two things. The sand first weights down the bag so it doesn't blow away in the wind. Also, a paper bag is flammable. So you want to make sure that the candle is put in place, that it's not going to rattle around a little bit when it hits a little gust of wind, and that it sticks around. But you can also get little LED, electric, battery-powered lights, which are really good to have. You can also use, these are balloon lights. You can order them on Amazon. So if you ever have a big party, you can blow the balloon, drop one of these in there. It has a little switch, it turns on. You can put these in. They're pretty inexpensive, come in a big bag of 50. Another thing you can do, if you have an extra cell phone lying around that you don't have service on anymore and you keep forgetting to donate, you can take your phone, stick it in the bag, and now your bag is lighting up. So they're really, think about what you have, what you can use that lights up and that is small enough that you can stick in a paper bag. Now, to get the design onto our paper bags, we can do a number of different things that we just spoke about. the easiest thing to do, so if you have very small children, get some markers, get some colored pencils, get any of that. Oh, just to say, these are balloon lights. So just Google balloon lights, search for on Amazon. You'll find there's a bunch of different kinds. There are these are just little white ones. They have a switch on the side of it, so you can turn them on, turn them off at will. You can also get those. These are really fun. If you want to have a real party for Hanukkah, you can get party balloon lights that flip through all the colors and sparkle, and if you want to compete with your neighbor's Christmas lights displays. There are also some of them are these little round ones that have a little paper stopper in it, and you take the little stopper out. Oh, this one seems to be out of battery. Then you take the little stopper out, and they light up that way. So a bunch of different kinds. They all do about the same thing. They're all about the same price. Let's see. Oh, I don't know why these aren't working. But yes, they're pretty easy to get, and they're probably a lot cheaper than getting a full set of multiple balloon lights, or sorry, multiple LED electric tea light candles. So anyway, so if we're going to be decorating our paper bags, really easy thing you can do with really the youngest kids that you can find, give them some crayons, colored pencils, markers, and you can just decorate your bags however you choose. So I'm going to draw So I draw my little menorah with Sharpie, pop open the bag, and then when you illuminate it from the inside, the design will show up. It'll show up even better. And whatever you're experimenting with now, there's a lot of light. When the light goes off, the colors and the designs will pop a lot more. So don't be scared if you can't really see that much through it. However, drawing on the paper bag will only shine through if the paper bag is thin enough. So for a lunch bag, that's going to work. For some delivery bags, it might be a little too thick. So this is, you can see a kind of a 2-ply little takeout bag. This is too thick. The light's not really going to shine through the paper in this. So in that case, we might have to start cutting out our bags. If you're going to cut out a bag, you can have your X-Acto knife handy. You can cut out just a little plug of cardboard. So that's about the same width as the bag. Pull out your bag. They actually made this a little bit too wide. And if you stick the cardboard into the bag, now you have a decent cutting surface. So I can put this on my tabletop. See if I can angle this down a little bit. You can see what I'm working on. So I have my cardboard in my paper bag, and then I can cut out of it this way. So I'm going to cut out it's hard doing this facing the camera. So I can cut out a little flame. So I've cut out my little flame. And then once I stick my lights inside, the whole thing is going to glow. Let's turn this light off again. You can see now this light is going to glow in the flame. And if I made 8 of them and put them in a row, now I have a straight-on menorah that I can put on my front porch. One of the things that we are going to send out after this class, there's a PDF that has all of the letters that you will need to spell out Hanukkah in whatever your preferred spelling is, you can put in C-H-N-U-K-H, H-A-N-U-K-A-H. You can add 14 Ks or lots of different Cs and spell it however you want. These stencils can be useful for cutting out your letters.
Hillel, we'll also put like we'll put a quick supply sheet on there, on that printout too.
Okay, so I'm going to cut out my H right here. I like H the best because H is for Hillel. All right, so now that I have my H, I can use this to trace onto here, use my marker, trace this out, and then I know that all of my letters are going to be sized to fit. They're all going to be shaped the same size. If you can always pick your own font, design your own letters, and then use your outline to then either color it in with whatever colors that you want, to cut them out use this as your outline when you want to cut it out with your X-Acto knife. If you are working with smaller children and your shape is large enough, you can also cut the shapes out with scissors. It's a little trickier. You'll have to do the kind of pinch, slice, and then cut method to cut a hole into the side of the piece. No, different ways to transfer the design onto your bag. Also in this PDF, we have a flame and a star, so you can make stars if you would like. You can have a whole menorah and all your flames lined up there. Another technique that you can do is think about the properties of the bag. That the bag is kind of semi-transparent. Right? When we shine the light through, we can see the light, but it will have the golden color of the bag, and it's not shining all the way through. If you were to cut out your letters, if you printed this out on kind of cardstock or traced it onto a cereal box or whatever Amazon cardboard box is there. So here is a letter Aleph that I cut out of a cereal box. This bag is going to be thin enough that you can cut out your letters out of the cardboard, tape them to the inside of the box, and then, can't see it so well because I'm backlit in this image. But once you've taped in your heavier cardboard image to the back of the box, there we go. So you can tape this to the inside of the box and create your design that way. Thinking about this in a similar fashion, if you wanted a design that you could also have backlit, but also have color on the bag, masking tape. So I can take masking tape, flatten this bag again. So using masking tape on the outside or inside, you can tape some shapes out. So I'll demo this two ways. You can see what it looks like on the inside or outside. Okay, so I have kind of a T shape on the outside, but I also put some masking tape on the inside. And again, so again that way, by using the masking tape either on the outside or inside, the outside you have a design that doubles both as color in the daytime, but also will shine through at night. Or if you want it to be a complete surprise, and have your totally consistent, straight, golden brown front, you can put masking tape on the inside as well to have that in. So between your cardstock or cereal boxes, with your masking tape, with cutting out your shapes, just to have a whole row of all your menorahs, or drawing on the box, you can have our filled out menorahs. If you wanted a little bit less work, here we have a nice big bag. This is a huge canvas. The really nice part of having a bag this big is that you can have a much bigger design all along the front. So think about how to maximize your space. Instead of having multiple bags, you could do one big bag with a design that's 2 feet tall. These bags are a little bit heavier, you'll see, than a paper bag. And will likely also be a little bit easier to cut out of a bag this size than it will from a slightly smaller one. So you can get really intricate and beautiful designs out of a thing this big. You might want to have a few more lights in a bag this big to make sure they shine through with enough force. But it'll all work just about the same. And then when you think about it, so your basic menorah typically has your 8 candles, and then you have your bonus candle in the middle, off to the side, your shamash, which is a little bit higher, maybe off in a different direction. When you're rooting through your recycling bin, or whatever leftovers you have from getting takeout yesterday, think about how you can mix and match different kinds of bags to create the pattern that you want to have. You can alternate, you can set them up, you have a tall bag that's sitting a little bit higher than your other bags. So think about how you can lean into the material properties, the shapes, the textures of the bags, the colors, to make your menorah distinctive and different and interesting. Yesterday, my downstairs neighbors asked if they had our permission to put Christmas lights on our house. This is the first time I've ever lived in a house that has Christmas lights on it. And I told them that the condition is that they can put Christmas lights on our house if I can also put my Hanukkah luminaria, after I'm done with it after this class, also on our front porch. And they said, obviously you can do that. So I'm very excited. We have a little bit of time, and so I'm just going to hang out and draw some stuff on my bags. And if you have any questions, want to chat, feel free to pipe up, chime in, ask questions.
Thank you. Yeah, folks, I love all of these ideas. We'll share with everybody probably by the end of the week. This is part of a series of webinars, so we'll share with everybody a download of Hillel's of his cutout creations with some detailed instructions so that you can create your own. I love the idea of a big bag with one menorah design. Ooh, and then you cut out a new little, like, a path to more light. Yeah.
Big props to Megan. That is a genius idea. I definitely approve.
Super fun. We love questions. I'll also say, if folks have like troubleshooting challenges for their DIY outdoor menorah, Hillel and I are also big fans of troubleshooting and brainstorming. So no need to be shy, or if you're thinking about how to do this on a Zoom, maybe with family members in other locations, I can definitely share some ideas there. Thanks, Roberta.
Yeah, and it's such a fun project because the materials are super easy. Another kind of interesting way that you could tie this into Jewish culture in other ways, when we think of Jewish art practices, one of the most historic and highly regarded Jewish art making practices is paper cutting. Paper cutting has always been special to Jews because it's really easy. All you need is paper, something to cut with. And if you're a poor person living in a shtetl, you don't have the materials, you're on the run, this is an art form that has been prized by Jews for just those reasons for hundreds and hundreds of years. And think about how you can lean into those different traditions and to bring in some of that into your work If you wanted inspiration, Google is really your friend. You can Google Jewish paper cutting, any kind of other paper craft. If you wanted more inspiration for different projects that you can do. And again, if you find it a little bit difficult cutting out of your bag directly, you have to remember, if you don't put something, a backer between inside the bag, you're going to cut straight through the bag to the back. Maybe that's fine. That way you can actually have a design that's mirrored on both sides and it can be viewed from both directions. Just make sure then that you have something separating your bag from the table so that you don't cut all the way through to your table. Whether that's another piece of cardboard or a cutting mat, those are relatively inexpensive to get. And yeah, to indulge and to live into all of these different things. Conveniently, and so I mentioned that we have all of these Hanukkah letters. Conveniently, most or many versions of the word Hanukkah in English has 8 letters. And so that is a very easy way to make it clear to your neighbors who might be a little bit clueless what you're putting on the front porch, what it is, that it both says Hanukkah and is also the length of Hanukkah.
I have I'm like imagining people like watching you spell it out over like, you know, they don't know a lot of Jewish people and it's like day 2 and they're like, they want to buy a vowel and they don't know what, yeah. Andrea, that is an excellent observation. I think this is a pattern we see in many of our webinars, regardless of the topic. I think a lot of women find more meaning in creative practices and sort of playing with how we kind of interpret Judaism. And we are so grateful to some male identified folks for also being a part of the community.
I'm happy to represent. I feel like this has been a lot of my upbringing of being the one boy in our class.
Are there other questions from the group? We'd love to help with anything or to answer any questions as we go.
If you are concerned, so if you're living in a place that might rain or can be wet at night, you can buy lunch bags that are similar to this or in the same size, that are either have some kind of gloss coat or are actually made of plastic and they're just brown to look like paper bags that are a little more resilient. You can also find waxed bags, and any of those would be a little bit easier to have outside without them melting or collapsing in the water. So it should be a little bit easier. Though either way, I'd probably recommend taking them inside if it plans to rain wherever you live.
So I will, Joe, we'll get that to you by Wednesday for sure. We will get it to you before Hanukkah begins, I promise you. And thank you, Megan, for the dollar store recommendation. And Georgia has a question about adapting this for a car caravan or a single Hanukkah car.
Ooh. Yeah, you could totally do this for a car. You would have to do a couple things. The paper bag, this is very lightweight. If you can find heavier weight bags at a dollar store, that would probably be good to do. Even if you only have these, I would recommend 2 things. First, measure the bottom of the bag and then cut out a sheet of cardboard that's the exact same size to put it in. So that way the bag is going to be really flat and then stick it in the bottom. You would definitely have to get some kind of LED, either balloon lights like this or a battery operated tea light, which you would then glue onto your little piece of cardboard before you stick it inside. So that way, it's going to stay put and not rattle around and not move anywhere. And then finally, after you have all of your bags, you would get a larger sheet of cardboard, plywood, something else that's big enough, and then glue these to the baseboard, which you could then strap onto the car. And doing all of those things, that way you could have your menorah that would be firmly attached to your car, not liable to fly off and hit somebody else, or burn down your neighborhood, especially if you're using something electric that is firmly secured. So I probably would still recommend not driving too fast while that is attached to your car. Trying to think if there's any other fun ideas I have for you. Yeah, and I would just recommend the internet is your friend. Google Luminaria, you can find tons of different ideas that other people have come up with and posted online of different techniques, different styles. All the techniques that I show you today, you'll be able to use and adapt, and based on what you see online, say, oh, I can think of how they did that. This looks like it's backlit. Probably it's cut out of some other material and then stuck inside, or this is colored. I've seen some that are, the design is done with a hole punch. So it's a nice way of cutting out pieces that are really easy, so you can use your hole punch and make a fun design on it. Yeah, cool. Also a good idea. Yeah, so think about other ways that you can make this personal, use your creativity, and go out, have a magical, wonderful, fun festival of lights.
I like this idea of putting a string through them, almost like they're hanging vertically, I think is what you mean. I live in a walk-up apartment. I feel like that would be so interesting to be able to like hang them. I would not do this with candles. I'm just going to be very clear. This is an LED or destructible, non-flammable light project only. But I could see it being fun to like do it like with an S-hook hanging. But she's saying a hanging menorah. I like that. I guess also if you have it like over like your front eaves or something, or yeah, to use those handles. Yeah.
Yeah, if you have bags with handles, I think that's actually a brilliant idea, that you can string them across and then hang the bags all along the front. So it's not on your porch, but hung across the front of your porch, hung from your balcony. I think that could be cool. Or if you have a more vertical space, that you could even tie them and then have them vertically in a row. At that point, it's no longer really a menorah anymore, but you can still have other kinds of Hanukkah imagery in a festive design and festive location. Yeah. Anybody else? This is I love all these ideas that are coming up, things that I would never have thought about, but are all very, very clever.
I'm curious if folks are thinking of making these with people on like a Zoom, like or a video chat, like a grandchildren, niece, nephew, godchildren. Yes, I got a thumbs up there from Jody. I'm guessing there's a few Ellens nodding. So I think, we're obviously, my family is, we are dispersed across the country, like a lot of families. And we love the idea. I think it could be fun. Maybe if, depending on the age of the kids involved, this could either be a project. I know attention spans for Zooms can be limited for the younger set. So it might be fun either to make them both on your own and like share a design and like do the same design together and then light that menorah outside together each night on Zoom. And it's like extra special because that's something that the kids made or that you made for them. I could see it being fun to put, like, depending on how many, like there's, for example, my family, there's 8 first cousins. So to put like, initials of everybody on that night of the candle and maybe, and do it that way, although it could get confusing if you're also spelling out Hanukkah. So take your pick there with the design. But I think there's a lot of fun ways. Hillel, I don't know if you've had any experience trying to do these Zoom engagements as well with little kids or anything.
Yeah. It can be a little bit tricky doing these on Zoom. I find that, especially when you're working with kids on Zoom, one of the harder parts is you can't see what they're doing unless what they're doing is on camera. I find that the two solutions to that are either make sure that one of their parents or resident adults, puts the camera far enough back, sets it down that you can actually watch what they're doing and also what's on the tabletop, so you can guide them through, also participate in this project with them. I find if you're just a floating head, that's less interactive than if you're working on a project and you can see what they're working on and say, oh, I love what you're doing there, try this, what if you did blue, and interact in that way. I find also that if you are engaged with the project yourself and doing it with them, even though your project and their project are going in different people's houses, you're still doing an activity together, which I find that is very affirming and create the kind of closeness that we wish we could have, even though we are very far apart from each other.
Yeah.
But I'd say the last thing is kids also don't always pay attention. And so if you need to, don't hesitate to remind them, oh, can I see what you're working on? And just coach them to lift their project up every now and again so you could see what they're doing. Because otherwise they're probably oblivious to how much of them you can see on screen.
Excellent. Oh, that's fun. In the garage with the door open. That's great. To have a little extra air circulation, but I think it's also awesome. You can do it in the garage, and then put the candles maybe down the length of the driveway or the width of the driveway or something during the course of it. I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm jealous a little bit of those of you who live in a place that is warm right now, or at least not freezing.
I'm jealous of the garage. I'm not going to lie. I'm personally jealous of a garage, but that's okay too.
Right. Garage is nice because you have your in-between indoor outside that you at least are guarded from the wind, even if you're still in the cold a little bit. I spent the entire day today painting my Hanukkah mural at the JCC here in Washington, D.C., and my fingers are still a little bit cramped from trying to paint while holding a can that's also cold and metal the whole day. So a little jealous of those of you who can hang out with your loved ones on someone's front porch and not have to also try to make art while wearing ski gloves to keep your circulation moving.
There was a question about balloon light to lunch bag ratio.
Conveniently, I mean, this might be a thing you'll have to experiment based on how much light you need. As always, think about if you have just lit candles. One candle will be super bright if the rest of your room is dark. But if you have other lights up, if you have porch lights, if you have street lights that are very bright, the lights will be less visible. So, and also, depending on the thickness of your bags, you may need more or less light to shine through. That if you're on a dark street on a dark porch and a very thin bag, maybe one light will be enough. If you have bright street lights and some porch lights and your bags are a little bit higher quality and are a little bit thicker, you may need to experiment. Generally, the balloon lights come in a big bag of 50, 100, so you should have enough to really disperse and divvy up however you need. And again, you can always go brighter or darker. One thing that's cool is because these lights come both in white and also in rainbow party colors, if you use multiple rainbow party colors, they'll be flashing and blinking at different times with different colors. And if you distribute them across the length of the bottom of the bag, so have one here, one here, one here, they won't. They'll still interact, but it'll look almost like fireworks are going off in the bags constantly throughout. This is a project I've done with for other projects, and it's really fun to have multiple lights going off in a contained space, especially on different sides, because this half will be green while this half is blue. You'll notice that they kind of blink off momentarily between colors. And if you have multiples on here, there will always be color cycling throughout. And it's a really, especially for kids, I would say, it's a really fun effect that you can have going on there. And you can always mix it up too. If you just need a little bit of extra oomph to, you can mix and match white ones with color ones. Conveniently, they're not very expensive, and you can probably get them on Amazon Prime, so they'll already be here before before Hanukkah.
We tried to do these, we tried to schedule these so that folks would have enough time in advance of Hanukkah to join. I'm gonna really quick drop in the chat the link for the other webinars if folks want to join. We have, we tried to have a real diversity of sessions, and so the one tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern is with Kohenet Kashira Halev Price, and she'll be leading a year-ending ritual that'll be very soulful and meditative, and thinking about this past year, what do we want to release and what do we want to carry with us into 2021. And then on Friday, we're taking another turn, and we are bringing in Liz Alpern and Jeff Yaskowitz from the Gefilteria to answer all of your Hanukkah cooking questions. So this is sort of like the Butterball Turkey hotline, but for Hanukkah food. And they'll be talking a little bit about Hanukkah food as well, and then answering everyone's questions about menu planning and latke making and everything else. Yeah, before we close, I'll let Hillel kind of, if you want to, I'll let you sort of have any final thoughts and words there.
Sure. This has been really, really fun. I've enjoyed hearing everyone else's great ideas for how this project can be taken in directions I would never have thought. I would love to see your art, so take pictures, make stuff, share it on the internet. Make sure to, you can tag me at the Hillel Smith on Instagram or on Facebook, tag Custom and Craft and Haggadot.com so that everyone can see all the things that everybody made. I would really love it if you checked out jewishstreetart.com to find out more about this Hanukkah mural festival that we have going all around. I would love to, learn more about me. Go on my website. If you want, I have some lovely Hanukkah gifts that you could give to your friends and relatives. The Parsha poster series book that I showed at the beginning of class is on there as well as the menorah, which I think we're almost out of, the light Hanukkah flip around menorah. And just really to close, thank you so much to Rebecca and to Custom and Craft and to Eileen Levinson, who I don't know is on the call, for this great opportunity. It is such a pleasure to work with them. I love everything they stand for about making Jewish art from your own heart, something that's special, that's deeply personal, and that I think to really reinforce this message that creating meaningful Jewish ritual is something that we all have the ability to do. And sometimes we just need the push, the templates, the material to do it, but that once it's out there, to be able to assemble all of this ourselves and create, Jewish homes, Jewish families, Jewish lives that are, wonderful and relevant, and something that we could share with our friends and family, even if we can't be hanging out with them personally.
Beautiful. Thank you so much to Hillel. Thank you to everyone for joining tonight. We're so delighted to have been here with you, or this afternoon. And again, we'll be emailing out a copy of the recording of this webinar and Hillel's amazing DIY Hanukkah menorah making kit out to everyone who registered. And we thank you so much for joining, and Chag Sameach and happy Hanukkah.